talk about a couple videos in here. The way to play it on presumably.
Okay, our final presenter this morning is Caroline Schleihuber from Colorado College, Cracking Underwater Code, Epigram Development for Harbor Porpoise in the Salish Sea.
Thank you. Good morning. Today I'm excited to share some new understandings that we have on the behavioral activities of the harbor porpoise, Phascina phascina, which is pretty commonly found here in our Salish Sea ecosystem. So this is our harbor porpoise. They are a cetacean species, a marine mammal, relatively small, 4 to 5 feet. And they are the second most abundant cetacean or marine mammal that we have here in the Salish Sea, only with harbor seals being more abundant. And they're a really important species here in our ecosystem. Here with Pacific Mammal Research, who I do my work through, we understand that they are really a keystone species for our ecosystem. And when you think of the Salish Sea, you might primarily first think of orcas or salmon as being kind of the most characteristic individual in our ecosystem here, but both of those species are highly transient. Whereas we know that harbor porpoise are resident in specific areas in the Salish Sea. So having this better understanding of what they do and why they do it is crucial for our wider understanding of the overall health of the ecosystem. And in order to understand our harbor porpoise better, we use a method of behavioral data collection. We've been studying harbor porpoise for the last decade, longer than that, and we know that there are individuals that have been there for the last 10, even 14 years in our study site, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. But in order to conduct our behavioral data collection, we observe what's happening. We go out to our study site multiple times per week, and we use drone footage and photography to develop this known database of individuals. We've identified over 200 known individuals of harbor porpoise. And so now what we want to know, now that we know we have this resident population, in order to understand the species better, we want to understand what behaviors we're observing. And what we're going to do to understand this is develop what's called an ethogram. And an ethogram is a key tool in study of ethology or animal behavior. And it's a means of standardizing observed behavioral data. And it's a way of creating definitions for what we're seeing. So then as we're seeing the same things over and over again, we can say, oh, this is this activity, or this is this behavior. And from that, it's a means of transforming our observational data into quantitative data that we can conduct further analyses on. And so there's a lot of really important factors that go into this research, and there's a lot of avenues for which we will apply our ethogram. Primarily, the field of people studying harbor porpoise is really small. It's one of the most understudied cetaceans. A lot of people focus on our more charismatic dolphin species or large whales, but because harbor porpoise are pretty small and pretty shy, they have been really overlooked. It's known that where we are now with harbor porpoise, and porpoises more generally too, where we are now with what we know about their species is where we were 40 years ago for dolphin species. So there's a really significant knowledge gap. We don't even know concrete facts such as their lifespan or where they go when they have babies. So there's a lot of really big questions that knowing their behavior will contribute to our understanding of. So as I said, there's this big knowledge gap species-wide, and additionally, we really want to understand better the behavioral differences between our local population and community-wide, since harbor porpoise are found from central California up farther north of British Columbia and into Alaska on the Pacific coast. And so, as I said, the number of people studying this species are small. So really, we want to be able to collaborate with them and all be speaking the same language when we're talking about what we're seeing them engage in. And additionally, we know that adaptability informs survivability. So as the Salish Sea and wider Pacific populations, as those climates and habitats are changing, if we know that species can adapt their behavior to fit what they're experiencing, we know that they'll have a higher chance of surviving long-term as our coastal ecosystems are undergoing a significant amount of stress. And so all this also deforms our informs our decision making. And this is especially applicable for the Salish Sea, seeing that it is a transnational region. We've got managers from different countries forming decisions on how we treat the Salish Sea. So there's a lot of really important reasons for our behavioral study here. And really, we want to just see if developing an ethogram for porpoises is possible. This has never been done before. No one's ever taken the time to develop an ethogram for any porpoise species, but it has been done for many other cetaceans. And so really, from our ethogram, we want to also understand how we transform our qualitative observational data into something we can quantify and conduct further analyses on. And so, as I began talking about, this is our study site where we're at multiple times per week. We are here, Shannon Point, and we're just around the corner. Or actually, we're here, Shannon Point, and here we're just around the corner in Burroughs Pass, Washington Park, between Washington Park and Burroughs Island. And we've been studying this same very specific region for the last 14 years, which is how we've developed our understanding of this resident population. And this is what we do in the field. We take photos, we collect drone footage, and we analyze our footage to identify our individuals based on pigmentation, scarring, and dorsal fin shape. And so then we have all this data. We have a decade of data to go through photos. We didn't start using drones until more recently, but we have a wealth of footage there too. How do we take all of that and filter it through and create this definition-based system? It's a lot of combing through our data with a fine-tooth comb. A lot of really going in and watching and understanding, and also spending time as the observer in our study site, seeing what it looks like from a viewer's perspective versus a drone perspective. But really, the bulk of this work is discussion-based with collaborators and researchers, comparing what we see and developing that common language for what we're seeing out in the field. Additionally, as I noted, there have been multiple ethograms developed for other cetaceans, such as Atlantic spotted dolphin and bottlenose dolphin, and whale species of, varied whale species as well, but never from porpoises. So there was a lot of consultation done with their methodology and even just the terminology they would use, because as I said, developing that common language is really the goal of this work. And so a little bit on what it looks like. If you were to compare an ethogram to a menu at a restaurant, there are two key parts of what we use to develop our ethogram. There are behavioral states and behavioral events. And a behavioral state is a measurable behavior. You can measure it with time, and it's a much broader category. So if it were a menu, it would be like appetizers, salad courses, mains, and desserts, like these broad categories that other things fit into, whereas events are those specific instantaneous behaviors like a fish catch or a surface chase that happen in an instant but fit under these broader state categories. So that'll make more sense in a second. But yeah, what you should know is that states are broad and measurable, whereas events are specific and instantaneous. And so now what I'm going to walk you through is what our ethogram looks like. It's kind of a dictionary or a big table. So first we have our three specific states being foraging, traveling, and social, those broader categories. And then we also have a couple behaviors that might not fit into those. So they just go into unknown or other for now. But with further research, we might be able to come up with more states that we can define. And then this is what the section of foraging state behaviors looks like. We've got the event specifically, what the instantaneous action is, what it looks like, and video and different perspective definitions. And this is an image of a large fish capture by one of our individuals. It was only recently better understood that porpoises do catch really big fish. So that's cool to see. And here's a video example of a behavior I'd like to highlight of one of our individuals, Railroad, who we think might be playing with her food here. In this drone video, what you don't see before is that actually she was hunting this fish at a high-speed chase for the last 5 minutes, like a high-speed sprint. And now she could catch that fish at any time she wanted, and she's choosing not to. And instead she's, if you can't see it very well, she's kind of poking it with her nose. This fish is worn to exhaustion. It can't swim fast anymore. And she's just choosing to kind of mess with it, honestly. This is a behavior we hadn't seen before that the drone gave us the perspective to really see. And I was in the field this day, so watching all this take place is really cool. But these animals are so capable of so much more than you've ever understood. I mean, thank you so much. There we go. So another category or another state we have is social behavior, which there's a whole variety of. There's a good section here that is just mother-calf behavior, which is M/C. Again, we have all these specific events and what they look like. And here we have chin slap breathing, which is what infants do when they're still learning to breathe out of the water. They just kind of flop down. It's really cute. And we also have echelon swimming or infant position swimming, which is how moms make sure their babies stay with them. They swim right next to each other. So for this section, I wanted to highlight what we think might be teaching and learning behavior between mothers and calves. When the baby is swimming right under its mom, and the mom is hunting, the mother is using her biosonar to echolocate her prey. And with the baby swimming right underneath her, what we think might be happening is that when she sends out that echolocation signal and it's bouncing back to her, the baby is also then able to receive that signal. I'll have you replay it one more time if that's all right, Brian. Thank you so much. The baby is then able to receive that signal and then learn how to use biosonar itself to hunt and catch its own food. And I also just think it's beautiful to see that mom and baby swimming so in synchronicity together. It's really cool. And yeah, that eavesdropping behavior is something that has been defined in other dolphin species. So we think it's very possible that porpoises could engage in that as well. Thank you so much. Another big category of social behavior, of that social state, is mating behavior. Porpoises are very creative with their mating strategies. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into how that all happens. I could give a whole presentation on just that alone, but we won't get into that too much today. And finally, we have traveling in unknown behavior states. And just what that looks like here in this image is a porpoise porpoising, which is a real thing that they do. It's when they're traveling, but we also think it's kind of social. And they are able to fully launch their body out of the water, kind of leap in an aerial fashion. And it's a cool full body view of the animal. So now what's next? We have this strong foundation of definitions, of common language to share with our fellow researchers, but what can we do now? What's next for what this means? So primarily I'm working on putting together our video format ethogram and our photo format ethogram. So they're more shareable, more digestible for our fellow researchers to see the visual perspective of what these definitions look like. And additionally, once we are able to share our ethogram out to our collaborators, I'm going to be running some inter-observer accuracy statistics to determine if what we define things as makes sense to everyone. And hopefully it does, and if not, we'll go back and edit because it really is a living document and a living process. And finally, I'm really excited to be implementing Boris, which is Behavioral Observation Research Interactive Software. And it's a means of coding within the videos that we have. We can, code for certain behaviors or tag certain videos with certain individuals and really gain that understanding of behavior on an individual level. And then also conduct further quantitative analyses based on what footage we have. So I would like to thank Dr. Cindy Elliser so much for being a fantastic mentor. And of course, the rest of the Pacific Mammal Research team, Zachary Woods, our drone pilot, whose videos you were watching, and Brian Bingham and the rest of the Shannon Point Marine Center family for an incredible experience. Thank you so much.
Do you see a future for AI or machine learning in analyzing these videos, and would that help reduce inter-observer sort of variability?
Yeah, absolutely. I think down the road, there will definitely be applications for that. First, as we better understand behavior itself in order to teach those systems what we're seeing, and as those systems further evolve themselves. It's such a specific trained eye that it takes to not only identify our individuals, but also understand what you're seeing, especially because there is such high variability among populations and individuals themselves. So I'm definitely excited down the road to see what that will look like, but I think there's a lot of development that'll need to take place before we can move into those fields.
One of the biggest problems is having to train the AI.
Yeah.
And so there's not so many people doing corpus research, so having photos and video to train is the, yeah.
Small but mighty team of researchers for purposes, yeah.
Here we are.
Were you seeing a lot of variability in the individuals that were in this population, or is it pretty stable, or? How?
Yeah, I think there is definitely individual specific behaviors that we're able to see. I really want to better understand different familial dynamics between what known individuals we have and what relationships they have with each other. There's some interesting dynamics of teaching and mating behaviors happening within families that are unique to each other, that we've gotten to see in the field, and definitely want to spend more time studying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with like other marine mammal behaviors, but is there like one or two behaviors that you're like, oh, this is like a porpoise behavior as opposed to like other marine mammals?
That's a great question. There definitely are porpoise specific behaviors. And I think one I think of right away is a rubbing social pattern that we see. Rubbing is a very common way for cetaceans, especially dolphins, to engage in social bonding with each other. But what we only see porpoises doing is a rubbing dorsal to dorsal. So dorsal is the back fin. And normally we see dorsal rubbing with heads or pectoral fins, but we only have seen porpoises rubbing back to back like this, which is kind of funny to see. Cindy, I don't know if we have seen that elsewhere, but
Yeah, I mean, usually it's peck to everything else.
Yeah.
Peck to fluke, peck to peck, peck to dorsal fin, peck to head, whatever. I've been in the water with dolphins for a long time, and I don't think I've really seen them do that. Like, one's upside down, the other one, like, rub the dorsal fin, like, oh, that was cool. I'm like,
yeah. But yeah, any others you can think of right away?
just their specific way of mating.
Yes, absolutely. That's probably the biggest one.
The only one that I know that is aerial.
Yes, very charismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to see more about mating, go to our YouTube channel.
Yes. There you have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our student scientists. Really appreciate hearing what you've done. Come a long way since our proposal presentation. I appreciate the hard work, and our advisors. Thank you so much. It's been really a good summer. So one more hand for our students, and we'll